The Wednesday week is sponsored by Bentoria.com. That's BENTORIA.com.
There's a chance here, a great save by Turner from McClare. Might come a terrific goal by Sheridan. Brexman against Jones. Get in. You could have two goalkeepers in there that would have trouble with saving that.
Hello there, ladies and gentlemen, and a very warm welcome to the Wednesday week, the Sheffield Wednesday podcast. I'm Lord Hillsborough, and with me on the line, first of all, we've got Fudge. Hello there, Fudge.
Good evening, sir. My apologies if I sound a little bit down. I've just been watching the Brit Awards, and well, that's a barrel of laughs, isn't it? Trouble is, it's empty.
We've got James. Hey there, James, old boy.
Hello. I'm a bit shattered tonight. I've been out on Endcliffe Park this evening, practising penalties just in case they need anyone on Friday at Hull.
A specialist player. And of course, we've got Mr. Eduardo. Hello there, old boy.
So what is right and what is wrong? Give me a sign. What is love? Baby, don't hurt me. Don't hurt me no more. Good evening.
None.
The only violence that's going to happen this week is if this bloody recording doesn't work again, because I shall be incredibly frustrated.
Either that or if Gary Medine gets hold here.
Ever so quick, ladies and gents, we would like to apologise for last week. We're not having a wonderful time with our equipment at the moment. Obviously, Eddie's not had a wonderful time with his equipment for a long time. He's quite used to it.
He's the one that's got kids.
Yeah, it's all right. They're not mine.
We've established before they do belong to Beastie. But no, again, I apologise for last week. We really are sorry about that. And cracking well done to Vic for getting those interviews in for us. Really, really, really good. So thanks ever so much for that. Fortunately, Vic isn't here with us this evening, so we shall just have to mosey on down without her, chaps, I'm afraid.
Has she been adopted by Mr. and Mrs. Banan?
Oh, if she has, she's like luckier than Annie.
I wish they'd adopt us.
I love that you've adopted the banan. By the way, I'm very happy that banan is catching on. That's made my day. That and
we're nothing if not corporate.
We can't talk about the interviews with Ma and Pa Banana without mentioning James's input into the second interview of the day. One of my favourite things that happened that weekend.
I'd love to reflect more on it, but I don't really remember it.
I'm shocked.
I did mention this last week, but obviously it didn't record. And this is true. As yet, I've still not listened to that interview because I'm too embarrassed.
It's like pulling up a plaster.
I tell you what, I kind of was thinking, James, that your week after that day would have panned out like an episode of Lost, where just randomly a flashback would just kick in, and you just face palm and go. Oh.
You've just described my average Sunday.
So I need to know more about the penalties, by the way. Are you hoping that football changes into something like NFL, where you have a special kicking team, or?
Yeah, I mean, my footballing skills aren't brilliant, I'm not going to lie. But, I can kick a ball a bit harder than Atty did last night, and therefore probably have more chance of scoring a penalty. But I'm sure we'll come to that a bit later on.
That was a lovely segue, that there, James.
Let's crack on then, shall we, ladies and gents? And, of course, first of all, we need to speak about the Preston game. A little bit disappointing after all that, wasn't it?
We all thought we were going to win, didn't we? And therefore we should have known that we were not going to win. It was a funny old game. I don't think we ever really quite got going. We didn't quite get into our stride. It just felt like one of those games where things just didn't really work for us. I'm sure we're going to debate it for long into the night now. But the sending off just kind of threw it for us. Really, that's the point at which we lost that game. Really, and I don't know. Was it 2 yellows?
Well, the big question is Fessy a cheating little so-and-so?
It's all right. I'm going to throw it out there. There's part of me that thinks, how idiotic is it to get sent off for two things that were nothing to do with what he usually gets sent off for, which is either violence or bad language. I think the first yellow card was really, really harsh. And I think from looking at the replays since, it still looks like a foul to me. I think the way that Fessy goes down doesn't help himself, but for me, that was a foul. The second yellow, I'm not being funny, but since 1986, referees have been aware that players will go up for headers and just randomly have their hands waving around there at the same time. I can understand that being a yellow card, but it sticks in the craw a little bit that he was sent off despite not really doing anything that can be described as anything more than a little bit silly. Certainly not malicious, certainly not bad tackles, certainly not talking back to the ref. It just felt like the ref had it out for him.
Had it out for him?
What are you suggesting that the referee wanted to?
We'll get an early bath. I've got the camera set up.
He had it both in and out at various times. That's all I'm saying.
I think you're right. I think the first was harsh, but it was just bloody stupid. I mean, the handball, there was just literally no need for it. I mean, I appreciate you're a short kid, Fernando, but you pulling yourself up on an imaginary bar to get yourself higher, it's not going to work. You know what I mean? I mean, what is it? Has he got one of those chin-up bars across his kitchen door? And that's how he learns to pull himself up. And he just thought, listen, I bloody got this, and I love. And then just pulled up at rubbish, absolute nonsense. A silly fool. I, for one, however, didn't think that was going to be a foregone conclusion of a game. Preston were in the ascendancy before we played this game, and 1-0. I want to say fair result, but you'd have been. To be surprised that we've lost to Preston is a bit of a long shout, if that makes sense. Do you know what I mean?
They're a decent team. They played really well. They're clearly, you can tell why they're in form because they knocked the ball about quite nicely. They did some nice stuff. I don't think they were anything particularly special. If anyone deserved to win the game, yeah, it was probably them.
They didn't have what's his face in the middle, Mr. Clark in the middle of the pitch. I thought he had a belting game, didn't he?
Yeah, I'm not. This is not sour grapes. This is not me pouring scorn on Preston. I think I was quite impressed with the way they played football, the way they approached the game, and the way they shut us down. It was one of those where we beat ourselves just through not executing. I thought our two fullbacks in particular had very, very dodgy games, especially defensively. I felt that we didn't create enough clear-cut chances. I think Gary Hooper took a knock early on, which limited him for the rest of the game, and I don't think we really adapted to that or changed that significantly. It was just a bad day at the office, and I think Preston were good value for their 3 points. I think they deserved it, and they certainly exploited the fact that they had an extra man later on in the game. But for large stretches before that, we were the better team without really ever making those 6,000 fans, sit up and really believe that we were gonna run away with the game. So a real missed opportunity. That was the thing that really upset, I think, every Wednesday fan there, that everything was in place and we had a huge crowd that were vociferous as always, backing the Owls. And the team and Carlos and the strategy and the execution just didn't deliver. And so it was a step backwards. It's by no means we don't have to panic. It's not about saying, oh, everything that we've achieved so far has meant nothing. We're still in a very good position. But Saturday was a real good chance and a chance that we didn't take. And I hope we don't rue it come the end of the season.
Can we just talk about the one good thing to come out of Saturday? Because there weren't a great deal of positives from it. But we had one of those magical moments where a song that will, for months to come, grace our terraces, was born at half-time at Preston. In fact, they might have been singing it during the first half, but I was on row 1, so couldn't hear what was happening.
You were already 6 pints in, weren't you?
Row 1.
I was on row 1. Let's not have geographical location with 5,500 people sat behind you as an issue. You were already 5 or 6 pints in. You'd been there since midday, and hearing was not your forte. Is that what really went on?
Fudge, let's be fair. It was more than 6 pints by that point. We got there at 10:30 in the morning. But I would point out that row 1 is actually below the pitch. The pitch was higher than our seats.
That must have been absolutely terrible for Vic, though. Because for any normal human, yeah, that's fair enough. At least you get to see above the advertising hoardings. Was Vic just watching the stewards for the entire time?
Vic had a steward that was stood like bang in front of her. So she was kind of playing this sort of game of like dodging one way to see what's going on, but then when the ball went to the other side, she'd have to run round and look around the other side of the steward. What
steward stands up? Why is he stood up? I mean, Vic tweeted a picture of him, and he looked 14. What's he going to do against 5,500 angry Yorkshiremen that want to get on a pitch?
Right then, ladies and gentlemen, so let's crack on then, shall we? Of course, after the wonderfulness that was the Preston debacle, we then faced QPR at home, and of course we had our home record to defend. And again, it has to be said, QPR weren't going great guns, so I was rather optimistic about this one as well.
Is there a chance that complacency set in? Do you reckon that the players may struggle now if it's not somebody in the top 8 that they're just going to go, we're Sheffield Wednesday, we'll spank and we've been playing mint? Do you reckon that could be a thing?
Well, I'm really hoping that if that was in the back of their minds, the last 2 games, that they've fucking sorted that out. Because, to be quite honest, if that's their attitude and it leads to the sort of performances that we've seen the last 2 games, then they probably need to rethink. Because you can't just turn up and beat teams that are in form like Preston, who are competent like QPR. I honestly think that sending off early on against Brentford probably, even though it was a great experience winning 4-0 at a canter, I think it probably it failed us a little bit. It was a bad omen for the next 2 games that came, because I think we started to believe our own hype a little bit. Because I think we approached the QPR game with the same lackadaisical attitude that we showed against Preston. And on a personal level, it was disappointing because of the number of miles that I'd put in to follow the team over 4 days. And I'm sure I wasn't the only Wednesday fan who felt that way, seeing what was being served up to us on the pitch.
What was it that bad on Tuesday, though? Because I thought we played all right on Tuesday. I thought we created lots of chances. It was one of those days where our luck just was not in. QPR had obviously done their homework. They played very, very tight to us. They made sure that Gary Hooper didn't get a sniff of goal. But if we score the penalty, if Zhao puts that header away in injury time, it's a totally different picture, isn't it? And we look back at it and go, actually, yeah, you know what? We threw loads at them. We were all over them. And it's a game that we should have won. It wasn't a terrible performance.
I think if we'd have got those 2 goals, with the penalty gone in, or if we'd have won by 1 goal, I think it would have been not daylight robbery, but I think it would have flattered us and papered over a lot of cracks. The thing that frustrated me the most last night was that we relied on thinking that we could just ping first touches wherever we wanted and it would just drop for us. There wasn't enough effort to get to a second ball when things didn't go the way we wanted. There wasn't enough effort going on to press high up the pitch and stop QPR from playing when they got the ball back, which has been the hallmark of what has made us so successful. And I think we absolutely missed Forestieri in there. He's such a key part of what gives us that kind of engine room. It felt like we weren't putting 100% into it, and that has been the hallmark of all of our success this season, has been working harder than the other teams with a squad that is good enough to really exploit the benefits of that hard work. If we don't put the hard work in the first place, then all we are is a bunch of kind of wannabe flashy bastards who are trying to do something clever, and when it doesn't come off, we don't have a second answer. Too many second balls were dropping to QPR last night, and that's what upset me.
But I think you're right. If we're trying to do clever things and it does come off, then it's brilliant. It was one of those nights where you're right, things weren't coming off, and I think we were trying, 1 pass too many last night. But there was a real attempt there to try and play the kind of football that we have been playing. But the problem is that without Forestieri, and to an extent without Hutch, because it meant that Bannon was playing a lot deeper, and we really miss him in that final third of the pitch when he can't play in that role. Just meant that we were just short of that one or two players that bring it all together and make it all happen.
I think that's fair.
We don't have a plentiful supply of them. McGeady is not of the, even though he should be, he's not of the same standard as Forestieri in terms of the way that we play.
He looked like Barry Bannon, didn't he? The first few Barry Bannon, sorry. He looked like the first few Gary Hooper games. McGeady again last night. He looked off the pace. He looked like he didn't really understand the way that we played the game. He was very, very disappointing for me.
I think it's. I think McGeady has taken a little longer. I think Hooper had one, maybe two games where he just wasn't cutting the mustard. But McGeady's 4 games in now, and it's just not gelling. Could it be one of them signings like Jay Bothroyd, where we think we've got an absolute corker of a signing here, and actually it just turns out to be pish?
McGreedy has to come good. He has to come good, but for the simple fact is he's got a song-ish, which we tweeted out yesterday evening, which is "To the Sweeney, McGreedy." I was clicking and everything then. So no, is it a case, because I'm trying not to completely slate him like I did with Hooper, and I ended up with rather a lot of egg on my face. But again, a lot of people are saying that Hooper didn't have the best games last night.
Hooper barely had 2 yards to move in last night. He'd got men all the way around him. They knew he was the danger man, and they were not going to let him get sight of goals. So I think it's unfair to criticise Hooper. I think he was trying to make his usual runs, trying to do things that he normally does. He didn't have any space, and he wasn't given any time on the ball at all. McGeady, I think, was he's another one that clearly is quite intelligent in terms of his movement. He was popping up on all over the pitch. He was clearly trying to find some space to do something, but when he got the ball, he didn't really seem to know what to do. And I don't know if that's because he's not been playing football, whether or not he's not played with these players for long enough to know where they're going to go and be able to read what they're going to do, or whether he's just not actually that good. I don't know. I don't think we can write him off yet, but there wasn't really anything last night that makes you get excited about the fact that we've got him in our squad now.
Now, the one big talking point that we have to speak about is the big man, Mr. Nuhu. He really is like Marmite, isn't he? He's split the Wednesday fans right down the middle. I'm a big fan. I'm going to nail my colours to the mast. I love the fella. Yes, the penalty wasn't great. That's putting it politely. If the keeper had dived the other way, we wouldn't be having this discussion, because the goal he scored, it was a brilliant, brilliant header. Worked his socks off all game. And, I mean, does he deserve the stick that he's getting?
No, look, let's be fair. Dave had a decent game last night. I thought he played well. I thought he created some good chances. His touch on the ball at times was good. The fact that he still gets slated by some fans is ridiculous. But the solution to this is he must never be allowed to take another penalty for Sheffield Wednesday ever again. He just mustn't. He just can't. You've got Gary Hooper, who's a natural goal scorer. You've got Wallace, who we know can take penalties. You've got other players on that pitch who'll be able to slot that ball away. Don't let him take any more penalties. Problem solved.
Is that the first penalty that he's missed for us? I can't think off the top of my head. Is that the first penalty that he's ever missed?
He's nearly missed quite a few penalties for us. Every penalty that he's scored has been a little bit lucky.
Right, but he's scored every single one of them.
I think he has, yeah.
So, as our penalty taker, with up until last night of sent record, I have no problem whatsoever with him taking that penalty. I don't think it was the best penalty that he's ever taken. I honestly don't think that he's hit penalties like that before and has been lucky that they've gone in. I think that was probably his worst penalty, and I'm going to give everybody a free pass. If you miss one after scoring 6, 7, 8, however many he scored for us in the past, I don't have a problem with that. I thought he had one of his best games at Hillsborough for us this season. I thought he covered up for a very, very average performance from Gary Hooper by being more available. I think he's ever been at Hillsborough. I think he played with his back to goal fantastically. I thought his touch was good. I thought his vision to bring other players into play was excellent. And as you've just said, that header was absolutely brilliant. They're the sort of goals that we expected him to score when we signed a 6'7" Austrian.
He's not scored many headers, has he?
No, exactly. So bizarrely, what we've seen from him is the opposite of what we usually see. We saw amazing work rate. We saw no small amount of skill. We saw him really lead the line fantastically. And then we saw him miss a penalty for the first time because he scored every other chance that he's got. And we've seen him score an absolute textbook, beautiful header for a big man, which he hasn't really done either. So bizarrely turned his entire Wednesday career on his head. Honestly, I came away thinking he was probably our best player last night.
Big one. I think the reason he divides opinion between the Wednesday fans is because, when you look at a player, and we've joked about it in the past about players like Lee Peacock, works really hard, but literally shit all pulls off. And but with Atty, I think he does do a lot more for the team than what he does more for the team than what we thought he was going to, because some of our fans they grew up in the 90s, you know what I mean? They grew up in the 70s and the 80s where the striker was the one that scored the goals, and the game's changed since then. And the striker is the one that a lot of teams now plays with his back to goal, lays it off, makes a nuisance of himself, that sort of stuff. And I think Addy is absolutely outstanding at that. I genuinely think he's great. But the problem is, because he's so big and lumbering and he looks like, Bernard Bresslaw from the Carry On films, or a big fat Khal Drogo, depending on what era you're from, because he doesn't look like he's genuinely grafting away like Fernando does. When you see Fernando bending down and lowering his centre of gravity and moving his legs really quick and all this, you think, Christ, he's really working hard. And Fernando could be having an absolute off day, but it just looks like he's working because he's moving his little legs so quick. And because Atty doesn't look like he's pulling a shift and he doesn't look like he's breaking a sweat, I still think he's one of the better players we've got. And I think in a hard-fought game, like when we play anybody from the top six, or it comes up against big meter defenders like Aidan Flint at Bristol City, for example,
Harry Maguire at Hull on Friday night. We expect
it's going to be a tasty affair, and I think Atty will give as good as he gets, and that's where he's great. That's where he's fantastic. I don't think Gary Hooper will have had, or Fernando would have had, the season that they're having now had it not been for New Hughes' input.
No, absolutely. It's something we've been saying for a while. He's watching his off-the-ball playing, and I'm sure this will come up again repeatedly. But I think from a Wednesday week point of view, although obviously I don't want to speak too much of it because she's not here, I think we're all behind him, aren't we, chaps?
Yeah.
Yeah, we need to stop this kind of meltdown that we have whenever we don't win a game or we lose a game, and I don't know if it's just a Wednesday thing or whether it's a general football thing, but we do, our fan base does go into meltdown. And reading some of the comments on Twitter last night were ridiculous and prompted me to do something that I think Eddie did earlier in the season when, again, we were having a bit of a meltdown when we had the slow start to the season. So I had a look last night. So today's the 24th of February. So you rewind 12 months. We've played 33 games of the season. If you rewind 12 months after 33 games of the season, the team that's top of the league, Derby County, they finished in 7th. And if you look at the team who's in 6th, which is where we are now, that was Watford, who obviously ended up being promoted to the Premier League. So
that's it. We're going up. We're going
proof,
up.
If it was needed,
Wednesday's going up.
We can have a blip. We're still going up. Everything's going to be fine.
I think that's right, though. Actually, James, I think that's a very good point. I think, last week when we were on the show that never got aired, we were talking about, we're doing really well. We've made some great inroads into getting promoted. There's still 14 bloody games to go. You know what I mean? We went through two veins of form at the start in the first 14. Went through a crap one, went through a good one, another crap one, then another. You know what I mean? A lot can happen in 14 games, and I think we just need to just have a minute and not look at the league until April.
I'll subscribe to that.
Right, so just a few other little points from the game. One thing is the shooting round and about the box. Why aren't we just leathering it? I know the actual stats from the game look like we took a lot of shots, but there were a few instances where Kizali especially, they seem scared to shoot at some points, don't they?
I will take the answer to this one. I don't know if anybody saw the infograph that went circulating around Twitter the other day about how many shots taken and how many are actually converted. And Sheffield Wednesday in that graph were very.
Oh, yeah.
We've not taken the most amount of shots. In fact, it had it as bad in terms of shots taken. But
We were bottom half, weren't we?
Yeah, in terms of ones converted, we actually, somebody actually tweeted it to me and put a German flag next to it. I thought, look at us. You know what I mean? And that's what we do. And I think also it's got something to do with the fact that given the online presence and the online hyperbole and our love of a Sky Sports quiz, we're rapidly turning into Arsenal. So I think what's happening is we're trying to walk it in the net just like Arsenal are famous for. It's because of that.
Simple as that. Last little thing from the game, of course, rather controversial moment. We'd had one penalty. Should we have had another? Gidder brought down in the last 9 minutes. Did the ref, or the fourth official, should we say, bottle it?
Yeah. You know what? I'm going to put it down to the fact that he hadn't quite warmed his eyes up yet because of the late stage and the time it took for those two to swap positions. It was ridiculous how long that took, including the outgoing referee sitting down to get his tracksuit bottoms on. The whole thing was a right state. No, look, we've seen not only the still pictures but the video as well. That is a penalty nailed on. We didn't get it. You know what? In any season, every team has got times where they should have got penalties and didn't get them given, and the times where we've got given penalties where we shouldn't have. So I'm not going to get too upset about it. But yeah, look, we've looked at it. It should have been a penalty.
There's a theme here, isn't there, when we play QPR? Because if you remember early in the season when we were away at QPR, not only should we have a penalty, but their man should have been sent off and probably charged with assault for that tackle on Sugu, which wasn't even given as a foul, let alone a free kick and a red card. And if you go back, whatever it was, 2-3 years ago when we played them first day of the season, and
at his opening game when he scored as well, didn't he?
Yeah, and Magoma in the box, Joey Barton clearly upends him. We just don't seem to get decisions go in our favour when we play QPR.
I am going to throw the cat amongst the pigeons and completely disagree. I don't think it was a penalty.
Shut up.
What?
No, I've watched it many, many times, and what Kieran Lee's done, he's left his foot in, and Eddie, you like your NFL as well. You know when a receiver goes to catch a ball, he drags his feet on the floor, doesn't he? To try and make sure that he's made contact with the grass in order for that to be a complete throw. That's what Kieran Lee did. He left his foot back, dragged it across the floor, looking for a penalty. And as soon as you do that, it's one of my bugbears with the game right now. If you watch a lot of strikers when they go down, that's what they do. They stick their toes in, drag it across the floor, and leave it there as if to say to the defender, "Go on, son, kick that."
You know what?
I'm glad the ref got it right.
I think it was the opposite of that, Fudge. Respectfully, I think it was a foul, and I think why we didn't get a penalty is because Kieran Lee actually did that foot drag striker going down move because he needed the referee to see that he'd been fouled. If he'd have just kind of carried on and stumbled, I think he thought as a footballer he's not going to get the decision. So he tried to go down.
He'd have been able to shoot on the bloody goal. He was inside. He was on the penalty spot, the silly sod. Well, you know what I mean? Don't hit the floor. Kick the bloody ball. What's the matter with you?
Have you seen the photo that was taken from behind the goal?
Yes.
You can use a photo.
If you look at that photo,
anything.
that was an absolute nail.
I could show you a photo that makes
You're
me look
just
like
trying to be
911.
controversial. That's what you're trying to do. You're just trying to wind us up, and it's working.
It just goes to show you can prove anything with facts.
I can show you photos that I've made myself that make me look like I'm boffing Rihanna. That make me look like I got many Brit Awards tonight, albeit I've got Adele's body. I could show you so many photos. And I just think that he made... I just wish he'd have kicked the bloody thing. You're that close, stick a toe on it.
I think the biggest thing to come out of this particular discussion is Fudge A disagreeing and B talking about egg ball on our podcast, and I think there's some contract negotiations there, Fudge. You'll be
I'll be on the Miami Dolphins podcast next year.
Can I ask a question about the match last night? Who do you reckon Jermaine Jackson was rooting for? He's tweeted to say that he follows Wednesday and QPR.
It was his cup final, wasn't it? Can you imagine? Like he probably got up yesterday morning. He spent the entire day, making canapes and cocktails, a big bowl of punch. Got all his mates round. Everyone settled down. They turned the TV on, and then he realised it wasn't actually on telly in America, and they had to watch America's Top Model instead.
My favourite bit about that tweet is where he goes, "Yeah, I'm a Sheffield Wednesday fan. Full stop. Capital A and QPR." So I think he's 60-40 in our camp. I'm calling that. But bear in mind, having searched around the internet to watch Wednesday fans kick off like I did last night, I've realised that we're also followed, because we've got quite such a large fan base, that we're followed by a lot of stupid people. And if somebody would have written, it's the Jermaine Jackson Cup final, somebody would have written the JJ Cup final, and I can just imagine Jermaine Johnson, wherever he is, getting tweets going, "What the bloody hell are they talking about?" You know what I mean?
Right then. So at the end of the day, what essentially this all means is that on the night of recording, Derby have won as well, haven't they? So we've slipped down to 6th in the table. Is the automatic playoff dream over, or are we looking for just clinging on to this this playoff spot?
There's 13 games left. Oh, could happen. Anything could happen. It's nuts to even think about what's happening at the top of the league, especially that we've got Hull City to play as well. You know what I mean? Anything could happen. There needs that figure needs to be cut in half, albeit it's the poster boy for the prime numbers. But do you know what I mean? It needs to be cut in half, and then we have a look and go, right, how many points can we get? Where's everybody else is around us? In fact, David Garrido mugged us off today. And bear in mind, big fan of David, but he was on telly today. And bear in mind, I think he really loves mentioning Sheffield Wednesday on TV. He referred to us as the Owls, the Wednesday, with a big piece of gusto. Like proper loved it. But he was saying there's a gap opening up between 4th and 5th. And it's 6 points. Do you know what I mean? At the top of the league, where the majority of the games you're playing, you're winning, anything could happen, surely.
What I was kind of saying, and I can't remember if I said it on the podcast last week or not, but generally speaking, you need 90 points to finish in the top 2. That's kind of the average of what it takes to get into the Premier League, which would have meant before Saturday, we'd got 15 games to go, would have meant we needed to win 12 of those games. We've played 2 of them, we've only taken 1 point from them. So,
you brought me right down there, James Jobin.
Do you know what? Right now, if I'm dead honest, right now, I'm a lot more concerned about us making sure we don't lose our playoff place. I think we're right off the top 2. We're not ready. We're not ready to go up anyway.
I'm going to put you in my next video, James. Can you tweet that for me?
Sure.
I can read it in a movie trailer style voice.
I'll put it in capital letters so you can shout it.
Just make a little note that James also needs a contract negotiation. Oh no. Jeeves, we're going to need some more equipment.
Then you need to speak to Oddballs, a speciality.
What the?
Oddballs, a speciality deal in steel, food, and engineering equipment.
Where's that voice coming from?
We offer great deals on all types of equipment and can include dismantling, delivery, and erection anywhere in the world.
Did he just say erect?
We can also buy your surplus equipment or sell it on commission. With over 30 years' experience, let us achieve the best deal for you.
Where can I find out more, Voice in the Sky?
Go to www.bentoria.com.
You heard him, folks. Jeeves, get a broom. Right then, legends. So let's crack on then, shall we? And we'll pop on and have a chat about some of this week's Wednesday news. Of course, the loan window is firmly swung open. And the first bit of news that's coming out there is Claude Dielna apparently on his way to France.
See you, Claude. Bye-bye. Thanks for everything.
Apart from pulling his shorts down when he scored, what did he do?
Well, it was a cracking goal that he scored when he pulled his shorts down.
Claude Dielner is he's the catalyst of one of the biggest mistakes I've ever made on the interweb. I don't know if you remember, but last season we were playing Millwall and we spanked them 3-1. And even Jack Magoma had an absolute barnstormer that day. We looked like Brazil. We were wonderful. Or Millwall were going down that year and they were just, bloody terrible. But I remember spending the first 10 minutes, and I remember Lord H, I think it was you that corrected me, slagging off Jeremy Hallan for about 10 minutes. And somebody went, Hallan's not on the pitch. Now, bear in mind, I'd had a few beers at this point. And who was the referee that mixed up Hallan and Antonio? It was kind of the same thing. And so, yeah, apart from that, I don't know what Claude Dielner has done for us at all, apart from looking like a big, eight dimple Lego brick.
He does pop out some lovely tweets of himself in his lovely French fashion, doesn't he?
He wears some crap, doesn't he?
I was trying to be polite.
Oh, wow.
So I think the general consensus there, Lord H, is to quote internet celebrity Aaron Kraskell, see you later.
Well, I would like to wish Claude all the best, of course. And the other little rumour that seems to be popping about is Wolves being interested in Mr. Hallan.
Is it Hallan or is it Antonio? I'm not sure which one it is that they're...
Or Claude Dielner, apparently.
Yeah.
Again, I'm a bit of a Hallan fan. I like him. His speed is just incredible. It really, really is. And he can really get play up the pitch rather sharply. Is he... something that, I mean, he's not been used a great deal. He's coming on as a sub essentially at the moment in times of need. But do you think he'd be missed if he went? Does it remove an option there for us?
I think he's a great player off the bench. I really do. I think he's one of, if you look at last season, we had some terrible players on our bench last season. This season we've got some, very good players, but not that many players that you think you can bring on and that can turn a match. Whereas I think Hallan is, or has been for quite a few games, he's the one person you look at on the bench and think he could come on and he could do something because he'll run at people, he gets around the pitch. I'd be quite sad to see him go. I think he's still got a role to play in this team. He's not the world's greatest footballer, make no mistake about it, and he's never going to be a starter for us, but he can do something.
He gives us something so massively different to everything else we have in our squad. And he's versatile as well. He can play. He's competent enough as a defender, but also he gives us something going forward. I think it will be a sad day if we narrowed our options by getting rid of him.
I think it's a bold step, and purely for that point that Eddie just made. Then, we just got rid of Wiggins. Who have we got that's just keeping everybody out the team? I think it's nuts. But I don't think a loan move's great for him, and I agree with you 2 points. I'm not playing devil's advocate on this one, but I still don't think it'll be a penalty.
Absolutely. I'd be really sad to see him go as well. So quite simply, Wolves get yourself stuffed. Right. So next thing, what's been doing the rounds this week is this wonderful video of some rather smashing ladies having a bit of a sing-song with Mr. Chansiri. I have put some cringe-worthy material on the internet, don't get me wrong. Lots and lots of cringe-worthy material. But this it even made my skin crawl, this one. Poor Mr. C.
I'm only thankful that he probably doesn't fully understand the horror of what he is part of there. Let's just think, even let's go back to that being, Dave Richards, for instance, or Lee Strafford. Do you?
Lee Strafford would have took his top off and swung it around his head.
Actually, I would have paid to see that. That's fair enough. That is so cringeworthy. The song is bad enough. In the hands of a genius like Lord Hillsborough, it would become a phenomenon. However, in the hands of those young ladies, it's ruined. It's awful. Everything about that is wrong. It needs to stop now. Wednesday fans, have a word with yourselves.
If I was a gentleman of Mr. Chansiri's means, I would quite simply have those young ladies, after I realised what they had done to me, round up and thrown in the sea. It was
Get him in the sea.
Get in the sea.
Unbelievable. So I'm sure the ladies were just having fun. I'm sure we've all done worse when we've had a beverage or two, but just Mr. C clapping along, not really know what's going on.
I think Mr. C, he tries to do it with some dignity, and it's not him that comes badly out of that video. It's not him that.
Not in the slightest.
Because I showed it to my missus, and she's of a southern persuasion, and normally I'd expect such a response such as fucking northerners, but she didn't, which is normally what I hear day in day out.
So fair play to Mr. C for humouring the ladies, I think we can say, but for goodness sake, leave him alone, poor chap. Right, next little bit of thing that sort of popped along this week was that Mr. Bannon did a bit of an interview in the Football League paper as well, saying how much he is enjoying his time at Wednesdays and how much the Wednesday fans have been behind him, which is brilliant to hear the players say, isn't it?
Well, we know firsthand from his parents how much he's enjoying his time here. In fact, we didn't even need to hear it from his parents. We know from his performances and the amount of effort he puts in on the pitch that he's enjoying it. I didn't manage to get hold of a copy. They were apparently giving it out, weren't they, last night before the game? But I didn't manage to get hold of a copy, so I've not seen it, unfortunately. But we love having him here. He loves being here. It works.
Actually, the episode in which we were talking about the interview, the build-up to the interview with Bannon's parents, is that's the one that's gone missing. And I was telling the story about we met him in the queue for a beer, Eddie and I, and it dawned on me. I thought, does he just swan around various pubs in Sheffield, just happening to mention that he's Barry Bannon's dad, and then given the response he gets, does he get the round vote in? Because I know I got him a Belgian blue in.
He was the most casual bloke in the world as far as dropping that one in there. And actually, the more I think about it, the more I think you're right, Fudge. I think he just does it. I don't even know whether it actually is his dad. It's going to be so gutting when we get to meet Barry Bannon, maybe at the end of the season or something like that, and we see him with two other people, like a big, heavy set black man. And Barry Bannon goes, "It's my dad," and we know that we've been played for a fool all these months.
Yeah, I mean, as far as we know, it could be Scotty and McClue just walking around the boozers.
That's a target reference.
Right then, ladies, so let's crack on then. Last little bit, of course, we do just need to pop through. We've got a rather important match coming up on Friday on Sky, haven't we? Could be a bit of a game changer, this one.
I'm slightly dreading this game. Hull are top of the table. The top of the table with a game in hand on Burnley, actually. So they're going great guns at the moment. We've not got a great record against other teams in the top six. But maybe this is the weekend where we defy the odds. We put it right. Maybe it'll suit us to have a game where there's no pressure on us as such. We're not expected to go there and get anything. So it'll be a damn good game of football. I think it'll be two teams that really that go for it. I think two teams that can play good football. It'll be a good game.
I think if there's one thing that we need, it's to get that momentum back again, isn't it? We kind of felt like we were an unstoppable juggernaut, and then the wheels have fallen off a little bit the last couple of games. It's a real tough task going to the KC there and getting some points. But guess what? If we can I think we did it live on Sky, didn't we? Maybe 4 years ago, something like that. I seem to remember.
Yeah, Giles Cope scored it for him.
It was. Rightly. I think was it 3-1 we won in the end or 4-1?
It was 3-1, and then they scored another one right at the end. That was it. 3-2. It's a banger of a game.
We mullered them though, didn't we? Absolutely mullered them. So a performance like that, coming away with 3 points will put everybody back on notice that we're serious about this. So you know what? No fear. Get out there. Do what we can do, and let's see what happens. We are a match for Hull, player for player, when we're playing at our best. So let's see what we can do. But most of all, let's just not get humiliated. That'll do.
It'd be a nice start, wouldn't it?
It would be a nice start, Lord H. Yes.
The Wednesday week is proud to be associated with Cavendish Cancer Care. Cavendish is a Sheffield charity dedicated to improving the quality of life for people living with cancer. No one should face cancer alone, so Cavendish provides emotional support through counselling and complementary therapies. The services they provide are free of charge and are funded through donations. If you can help or would like to find out more information, you can go to www.cavcare.org.uk. That's CAVCARE.org.uk. Right then, ladies and gents, so that's going to bring us to an end for this week. Mr. Fudge, if people want to get all your nonsense on Twitter and, of course, your other internet-type ramblings, where can we do that, old boy?
Get involved. It's at Dan Fudge on Twitter. And if anybody sees any Sheffield United fans in absolute meltdown, please take a screen grab of the entire conversation or just a tweet or just a Facebook post and send it to me. I'm finding it hilarious looking at it and videoing, putting this in moving format with commentary. And if anybody wants to see that, yeah, get involved on Twitter, and I will quite happily take it off your hands.
No, it has to be said, Mr. Fudge, the blunted video you put up, and if you've not seen it, pop over to our Facebook, pop over to our Twitter. It had me in stitches.
I appreciate I have literally just stolen somebody else's gag. I mean, I'm a big fan of Paddy Power's Fans in Isle. I really am. And it's in pure homage to it. But it always seems to be about the big teams. It's always about Arsenal, Man U, Spurs and Chelsea. But I wanted to do one about our middle area of the UK, and the things I came across, a lot of it wasn't even broadcastable. It was amazing.
And for it not to be broadcastable for you, it must have been some really serious
cutting-edge stuff.
Because you're a nightmare.
I mean, my favourite bit, about it, and I've got to bring this up, but there was an interview on Thursday with Jose Baxter reflecting on the Bury defeat, and then the day after, he got. On that night they were talking about. Looks like he's on the coke. Looks like he's on the sniff again. He looks off his tits. And then the day after, he got suspended for drug use. And who am I not to run with that? You know what I mean? I'm just performing a service for you kids.
James, if people want to go to you over there on the Twitter, where can we do that, Mel?
Find me at James Marriott. You can find me at the KC Stadium on Friday, which will actually be my last game for a short break, because I won't be going to the Rotherham game the week after because my sister's getting married.
She clearly didn't think that one through, did she?
It'll never last.
Would you believe she's marrying a Wednesdayite?
It'll last forever.
And of course, Eddie, if you want to go to you over there on the Twitter, where can we find that?
Yeah, I will be exclusively on Twitter for the next week at Sausage Arms. I'm not going to Hull on Friday because I'm going to be hosting both my parents and my in-laws on Friday night, and basically ignoring them both watching the football. So I'll let you know how that turns out.
I'm sure it'll go down incredibly well.
So what you're saying is they can also find you in the doghouse as well?
Pretty much. Pretty much.
Of course, ladies and gents, get hold of me over there on the Twitter. That's at Lord H. That's L0RD_H. You can get hold of the podcast at TWWcast, and of course in all the usual places as well. Again, I ask every week, and I please implore you, whilst you are listening on iTunes, click us that 5-star review, leave us a little comment, help us get noticed. While you're over there on the YouTubes, click that like button and spread the word of the Wednesday week. Otherwise, all Fudge's fantastical nonsense videos, nobody's going to see them, are they?
Well, no, and you know, they are min.
That's a good point, and it's well made. Right. Thank you very much for joining us, as always, ladies and gents. Be good, be safe, and we shall see you real soon.
Here's a chance here.